little commentary. Football in Focus from Teed Up Indoors on Battleground. John Blust with us now from Western Guilford running back. He serves us in the House of Representatives. Were you sworn in recently, John?
Yeah, just yesterday to fill out a term of.
Was that Mr. Fairclough?
Yeah, he had resigned.
Mm-hmm. Now you've been there in the House of Representatives before. You've been State Senator John Blust, Congressman John Blust also.
No.
Senate and House of Representatives. But one of your all-time mentors, I think, had to be a guy back in the day. I'm sure you followed his path to a certain degree. Congressman Howard Coble.
Yeah,
you
Howard was a mentor, and spent much time with him, and taught me a lot. And another one was a Western Guilford dad, Bob Shaw.
I got him on my paper, Bob Shaw. I got Linda Shaw in there too, because Linda at one time they took over one of Bob's terms and finished it out, and she got to work and served. And last time I saw Howard Coble, since you bring up the Shaw family, last time I saw Howard, many years ago now, all this gone, was at the Friendly Road Inn.
Those were great days.
The fish place, yeah. How about that fish place? Yeah.
I didn't work there, but a lot of people in high school
Northwest
did.
and Western both, yeah.
And they used to call it the fish hole, affectionately.
And Mr. Coble was there. I saw him there and talked to him. He's a good sportsman, good Guilford College community type guy, because the Coble family name was out there. They had that Coble Dairy on Friendly Avenue, and other Cobles like Ray Coble, Mark Coble, and Brian Coble, all the Cobles, and Howard was part of that whole group in one way or another. And so Howard Coble, the Shaws, all those guys are influences. If you will, let's go back even further, some of your high school influences. Tell me what kind of car did Bill Hollifield drive? What kind of car did he drive? You remember his car?
Good night. He didn't have a Mustang.
He did, red Mustang. You got it.
Yeah.
You got it. Then he got that truck later. I'm asking with these guys today, what kind of vehicle did he has many different names. Allen, Hoyt, Casey Jones.
Casey Jones had him a little blue pickup truck. I know that because one time Danny Webster caught a little pass out in the flat in practice, and Coach Jones was driving not far from the field, and he caught it, and Danny Webster ran into that thing and put a dent in it.
He dented his truck.
Didn't hurt him at all, hurt the truck.
I was going to take a piece of paper today. I forgot this is what I would do for John. I was going to take a piece of paper, write 2 names on a piece of paper, and mention at least a couple of names or influences of you when you were playing football at Western trying to get there. A couple of names, and one of those names I was going to put on a piece of paper was Danny Webster. So you already brought him up. That's amazing. The other name, I think the other name might be another influence you might have seen from Western in your days coming along, and he played before you did. Who was another name might have been an influence for you?
Well, another one, great running back, same year, Philip Presley.
That's the name I had. Had both those names. Amazing.
In fact, I still think of him every time I run, because I now run up at the old school. There's a track there. There wasn't for years. And I will get around with 2:20 to go, and I will think of Philip Presley and Levester Huntley in track, running that 2:20, and just coming out of there, and people were going, ooh, they were going so fast.
Wow. But the 2 names, I was going to write a piece of paper, those 2 names, amazing. Like I told Bryant Roche from Green Acres last night, Mr. Kimmel had a great term. Mr. Kimmel said, this is definitely magnanimous. That is a magnanimous put together we have there, because Philip Presley, Danny Webster, 2 names I was going to write down. You brought them up already.
And they were a year ahead of me, so they were kind of idols. When I was coming
Now you came up the hard way. John Blust here was at Western Guilford. John played football, but he played on the varsity team, not 2, not 3, but just 1 year.
1 year. I was
senior year.
One of my biggest memories was my junior year preseason practice near the end. Coach Robinson taking me aside, telling me he was putting me down on the JVs. That you had to meet a certain standard to play varsity, and didn't feel sorry or anything, but you got to go down and you got to work hard. And luckily, we had a great JV coach, was John Blust.
That's another great name for the past. To me, he might have been, of all those coaches at Western Guilford, guys like Joe Robinson, Doug Henderson, Bill Hollifield, but man, John Brooks, you want to learn some sport, not just football, not just basketball, but also track. That man had it between the ears. That guy was loaded. He was a coach.
He was a great player himself. People
Guilford
don't
College.
understand. And he was like a 6th man, but he was playing behind NBA players.
Oh, yes,
so
he was.
He could have probably played in the ACC.
He was in that Bob Kaufman era, I believe.
Yep.
Bob Kaufman
and
time.
Many times we went at it down in the gym, and he was easily the best athlete, the best player. And he was only like 22, 23
Right.
then
He
when he
could
was
go.
coaching
He
us.
could go,
And
yeah.
he could dominate all of us.
He was, I think he was from West Virginia. Came here maybe from West Virginia, came to Guilford College, ends at Western Guilford, then goes down later to Charlotte Northside Christian Academy. I think he finished up teaching and being the AD there. But man, that guy, excellent teacher too in the classroom.
Yep. But I attribute my ultimate success to he and Coach Hollifield. Because
He used to drive you, right?
Brooks,
Push you? Yeah.
Coach Brooks was the track coach, and I really turned things around my junior year in track. He put me in the 440, and the practices were brutal, and I just got in such great shape.
You were forced to get in shape.
Yeah, because the 440 is a sprint.
Oh, you're not
of a
kidding.
sprint.
Yeah.
And at first, I could not sprint all the way around a lap.
One lap.
And doing that built my legs up, and I got in such great shape. And then I say Hollifield because he was always pushing the weight room.
Yeah.
And so I went down. I don't know that well, my mother made me go to the beach once that summer with the family, but I just busted it based on those two. And a Vince Lombardi book I read about how hard he pushed the Packers. And a light came on and said, you can get a lot better if you're willing to work at it.
And I guess that weight room was, you said back in your day at Western Guilford High School, the weight room was kind of in a back closet down in the auditorium.
Yeah, you remember back of the auditorium there was a hallway, and on that was the band room.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And where the band room went in, the last door before you'd go outside again to where the buses came in was a pretty big closet, and they put the weights down in that closet.
That's where you hit it. That's where you went.
Yep.
And you said you only missed one day that summer. You went every day pretty much.
Yeah, reading about Vince Lombardi, it was a book by Jerry Kramer, and he was talking about the two-a-days and how Lombardi came in and said, we're going to outwork everybody else in the league. And I thought, man, two-a-days, I'll do three-a-days.
Yeah.
So I would get up, and before I'd do anything, I'd go out in the backyard and run sprints.
In the backyard.
And then I'd come in and eat and digest that, read the paper. Then I'd run over to John Rawls' house.
Your old quarterback, right?
Yep, he was our quarterback.
John Rawls, yeah.
And we'd go up to the school, and he'd throw me I'd go out for passes, so he was working on his arm, and I was working on catching and pass routes. And then in the evening, I'd lift weights. So I was doing 3 workouts a day.
So what led to, that also leads up to the fact you got the first ever touchdown in that new Western Guilford Stadium. Not the first ever Western Guilford touchdown as a whole, but the first one in that new stadium, which at the time it was not completely finished yet.
Well, we actually did. The bottom part, the rooms weren't finished because as a senior, I had advanced phys ed, and they'd have us going in there and shoveling gravel and stuff.
You're doing workouts in the workout room, yeah.
And but the way that came about, it was just lucky. We got down to the 1-yard line, and I got the carry. So
wow.
It wasn't like a great play.
It wasn't a long run, but you got the big touchdown.
It was just a 1-yard.
Now you remember a lot of this stuff. Do you remember who that was actually against? Who your opponent was?
Stoneville.
Oh, the old Stoneville
Which
team.
now
Yeah.
has, I guess, merged.
Big Michael, yeah.
And I think they had a Madison Man.
Madison Man,
so those
sure
are all
did, yeah.
together now
They
up
all
there
came
in
together for
Rockingham.
McMichael, yeah. So you got the touchdown at Stoneville. Then you also told us too, because this week it's Northwest and Western, both teams 3-0. So it brings back, last time Western was like 3-0 was 2017. Well, 2007, 17 years ago, 2007 they were 3-0. Last time they beat Northwest was 2007. It's been that long.
Wow, because we were dominating them back then. Of course,
Yeah.
Southern was dominating us.
Right.
Sumner, but so is
you
the
scored-
game at West?
It's at Western Guilford, Doug Henderson Stadium, Joe Robinson Field tomorrow night. Yeah, 3-0 versus 3-0, and Western's got a good running game going this year. Passing game's not great, but a good running game, and Northwest has got running and passing both, and they got the former Guilford College head coach Chris Rusevich is now the Northwest Guilford coach. They got a very good, solid foundation there too.
But my senior year, we played them at Northwest second game, and first game we had been spanked by Ragsdale, and they had a powerhouse. We got beat like 34-0 because I went into that still third string because of my reputation. I'd never done anything athletically really until track. but not football or basketball.
Right.
And then against Ragsdale, because they beat us so bad, I got to run like the last 2 series, and I ripped off some good runs. We got down to the 1, and it was going to be a sweep to me. And I thought, hey, I might score a touchdown.
Might get in there, yeah.
And they fumbled the snap.
Oh my gosh.
John Rawls and Chipper Cecil.
Chipper Cecil
And
was his center.
So we got down to the 1 and fumbled. But the next week, Coach Robinson let me start at Northwest, and we had the kickoff. So first play from scrimmage, I carried and went 60 yards for a
60
touchdown.
yards for a tee. That's some good running there. Very good running. You must have had 100 yards at least that game.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
That it was just quite an experience, because I was in the end zone. It was like a dream come, because I had always been a doorman. Growing up, I was the last kid chosen on all sports.
Yeah.
And suddenly I'm in the end zone with a touchdown, and I ended up making all conference.
I figured you probably got some recognition too. Yeah, that's
So
all that.
it
And you
was
probably
just-
won some team awards. You won like MVP or Most Improved Player or something like that?
I think I had 3. You know, those used to be so important, and over there, they're in a box somewhere.
Yeah, I've got mine in the box at home too. Got them all stacked in that box. They used to call it the Golden Helmet Award for the best player on the team, had the most improved player. Had to win the top running back, I'm sure, that year.
Yeah, I got best running back. I got an all-conference trophy, most improved, and maybe one more. I can't remember.
I bet of all those awards, though, that most improved probably stands out the most, considering what you went through to get there.
And I got that in track. I missed by 1 getting it in basketball, because that was what I would have liked to have done that in every sport. But you know, it was so important and so big then. But over the years, you get a perspective how many teams, how many people have come and gone, and who was all conference in '71. Nobody could care today.
1971.
I do understand what these kids are doing.
Right.
For those people, tomorrow night is a huge thing for them, and they'll carry those memories all their lives.
And the crazy thing is, back in the day, as you well remember, at Western Guilford, all those teams, those conferences, only the conference champion went to the playoffs. Nobody else went. Just one team made the playoffs, the conference champion. Everybody else was just looking around going, well, Ragsdale beat us again, so they're going to win the state championship. I guess we're number 2 in the state, maybe. Yeah.
They had some good, they had like,
I'll give you one guy that had. You may have faced him. I'm not sure he came later than you were about to say. This guy, Prince Deese. Remember Prince
Deese?
Yeah.
Great running
Still
back.
around,
Then
yeah.
right after him was Ricky Adams.
Oh, I played. They called him Buck the Truck. I still got I think there's a mark on the back of my neck where he clawed me going by me one night there. Yeah.
He I think played for state.
He did. Yeah.
And they my senior year, they had a person, I guess he was a junior then. He had transferred from Western. He had been on our junior high team. Tom Grissom.
I remember the
Real
Grissom names.
hard
Yeah, the Grissom
linebacker,
brothers.
real
Yeah,
hard
yeah,
hitter.
the Grissom brothers. Yeah. Had a kid on there too about your time named Jimmy Bolden. Bolden went to ECU. He was a good running back also back there with Prince
remember
Deese.
that name.
But that Grissom name, I hadn't heard that name in years. I do remember the Grissoms back in the early days were pretty gritty guys, pretty tough guys back in the day.
But they had a good team, and we played over on that. I think about that every time I drive by that school and that field.
Yeah.
Plus running track over there too.
So you probably played those games for Western Guilford at the old Guilford High School the first couple of years in.
Yeah, the Western opened my ninth grade year, and they still played 2 seasons back at the old school.
Right.
And then my junior year, they got the new field ready, but it was just bleachers.
Yeah.
And then
Well, we still play at the old school on Thanksgiving Day. We play Thanksgiving football. He was our referee last year, Bryant Roche. But we gathered over there every Thanksgiving morning and played there. We used to play Guilford College for years. We've been doing about 25 years on Thanksgiving Day football games. So you're always welcome to come and join if you'd like to. Catch a few passes. You never know.
I'm getting to where and it's only been 2 or 3 years. Until COVID, I would have told you I can still pretty much do anything. I don't know that I could take a hit even then, but I really went downhill with a year of the gyms being closed and not playing any basketball. I finally quit playing basketball in June.
Did you ever play any basketball against this guy, my second cousin? I have to bring him up because he plays a lot of basketball. Todd Lineberry. Ever play against Todd? Don Lineberry, the dentist's son.
Probably have.
He did. He played at Greensboro Day, did well there, and he was playing that Sunday morning routine over at the synagogue church. Jan Pritchett ever played, Jan from the attorney field. You maybe played against Jan, might have played some against Kenny Free Jr., Kenny Free, those guys.
I tell you, the best ball in all the years. When I think back all the years, you know, and after you get out, it becomes pickup games, Y League.
Right.
And it's amazing how the venue would change. For a few years, people would meet here. The best ever was Sunday nights at Greensboro Day.
Wow.
And Freddie Johnson finally had to shut it down because
Yeah.
so many people were coming and he couldn't keep up. But there'd be some A&T players, UNCG players. Remember Trip Wellborn?
Very
from
well,
Page?
yes, from Page. Yes,
He'd
sir.
come
Michigan.
up there and play.
Yeah.
Played, defensive back at Michigan.
He was on the All-American team.
That was
That was some competition
Thomas,
there.
oh, what is his last name? One of the first big players that Freddie had.
Thomas
Roberts.
Thomas Roberts, yeah.
Yeah, he played at William and Mary, I think.
He did. He sure
He'd
did.
play
for
up
the
there.
Tribe,
What
yeah.
a great stroke.
Man, that guy could shoot.
But that was some great ball that went on maybe 3 years, and he finally.
Did you ever play any at First Baptist downtown? They used to play games there on Monday night
Yep.
at First Baptist. They used to gather there back in the day. Yeah.
Yep, and I had to be careful in those church games not to say some foul
Oh,
words.
exactly. Got to be careful there for sure. They also used to have some pickup ball too. I think at this Friendly Avenue Baptist Church, Friendly Road Church, where the Baptist Church. They played some games there back in the day too. I think because the Hackett brothers used to show up and play some of those games.
And for a few years, there were a lot of games out at Smith. Mm-hmm. Do you remember the name Doug Smedberg?
Oh, Mr. Smedberg, one of our coaches. Got to salute the
Yeah.
old coach. Yeah.
And he ended up making it big in insurance.
Oh, yes,
but
he
was
did.
a coach then.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
There'd be some top talent over there in the Smith gym. That was still in the 70s.
What was it like playing for Coach Joe Robinson back in the day at Western Guilford? Or Guilford House. You played for Coach Robinson back then. What was it like playing for him?
Well, I always enjoyed it and loved it, and always, you know, I don't understand the day, and maybe there are some bad coaches or something, but I was taught a lot like Hoosiers.
Yeah.
I love that line when he says, Gene Hackman, I want you to take the weekend and see if you really want to be on this team. He said, when it comes to this team, my word is God. And I never believed in questioning. Sometimes I'd want Casey to Coach Jones
Oh, yeah, exactly.
to play me more in basketball, but
Yeah.
I never wanted to pout or anything and get mad at the coach and have my dad go.
Now, who
talk
was
to
the athletic
coach.
director then? Because sometimes the football coach wants to be
Was
that.
it Mr. Hunter?
Wow, interesting.
Had a little. I'm not even sure.
I remember
didn't
Mr.
even-
Hunter. He was like assistant basketball coach for the girls. Yeah,
Attention.
yeah.
I didn't pay close attention to whoever was the athletic
Yeah, because
director.
I'm one who
but-
made the decision about Coach Robinson stepping down or stepping away, and then Coach Henderson came in. Because that was a big move for that Western
Yep.
Guilford College community
And
there.
another tidbit, that was my senior year, and Coach Robinson asked me to come help Henderson move in.
Oh, yeah.
Me and Bruce Burton
I remember big
went
Bruce
over
Burton,
there, and I was the next week going away for the Army.
Wow.
So, and Henderson did so well, became so big, I used to brag to people, I helped him move in.
You relocated him, yeah.
Got unloaded his furniture from that truck, me and Bruce Burton, and moved it in his house.
Where was he living at? Off
He
of
lived
Jefferson
over,
Road?
Yep, right off of Jefferson Road. And that was the summer, that was probably late May of 72.
Exactly.
Because I went in the Army, I turned 18 on June 4th, and the next morning John Rawls let me off down at the recruiting station,
You
in
ready
the
to
old
go?
post office.
Wow.
And I was bussed off
How
to
many
Fort
years in the Army
Jackson.
for you?
Well, I did 2 then, got out.
Did you go to reserves?
Yeah, and went to Carolina on the GI Bill.
Yeah.
And while I'm at Carolina, State ROTC Army contacted me since I was prior service, and I thought, hey, that's more money.
Oh,
for
yeah,
a,
exactly.
For a male, probably the same for a female. Extra money in college is huge. So I'd go over, me and this one other guy would drive over once a week for a course in military science at NC State. And one year they let me, it was in State ROTC at the time, was in the old Reynolds. And
Reynolds,
they
yeah.
let me stay back there and hide in the ROTC place and would sneak out and go see a State Carolina
Well,
basketball
that was
game.
big time State Carolina basketball game for sure back then. That was in the 70s. It was a heyday of
Phil
those matchups.
Ford,
Ooh.
Walter Davis.
Ooh. Yeah, Walter Davis was in town yesterday at Caldwell Academy trying to look over a kid over there. So it's interesting, all those guys.
You mean Hubert?
Hubert, yeah, Hubert,
Walter
yeah.
died
Oh, yeah, Walter's dead, yeah.
a
I'm talking
year
about Hubert,
ago.
yeah. The guy's there now, the head coach Hubert, yeah, was over there today at Caldwell Academy trying to pick a kid up locally. But all those days, he went to Carolina, then he came back and eventually hung up the shingle, became an attorney here.
You know what? That must be the guy I saw working out with a private coach at the Spears Y.
Could have been.
Because I was watching him a little bit, and I said, man, this guy's good. And I asked him where he goes. He said Caldwell.
Probably was a kid, yeah.
I can't remember his name. And I said, I want to keep up with that name.
Not sure if it was a Clover kid or not.
So now it's Hubert's actually looking at him.
Coming after him, yeah. He was here yesterday because they got the big kid over there, big coach over there, Brandon Clifford, coaches at Caldwell. Used to play for Page. He's about 6'9", big dude. He does the job, yeah.
So you're keeping up with all these schools. And I don't know if he followed the teams, but going back to Howard Coble, that was his thing, was he knew every team mascot.
Oh my gosh.
He used to ask somebody if he met him,
questionnaire.
what high school did you go to?
Ah, yeah.
And I went to High Point Central. Oh, you're a Red Raider then.
Knows all that. He knew all that.
That was his way of connecting with
The big
people.
thing I always liked is the stadium thing. The stadium, what stadium? Because it, this is kind of interesting point here too. Because at Northwest, you play at Northwest, you play at R.L. Billings Stadium. Although Coach Billings, or not Principal Billings, his son Terry and Randy both played for Western Guilford and Guilford High School.
I remember he was the principal at Northwest when I was in school.
Yeah, Roscoe Billings. Yeah.
He must have stayed there for several years.
He did. But it's kind of interesting his sons played for Western, but they could have gone to Northwest because the rule among the education system in county, if your parent or teaches or whatever the school, you can go to that same school they teach your coach at. So, but you got the Doug Henderson Stadium, you got the Bill. You remember Coach Bill Slayton back in the old days?
Now, what year did you graduate?
I got out of there in '76. Played my last football game was the fall of '75.
Because I'll bet even through then, we at Western used to think of Northwest as kind of a country.
That's what I tell everybody. I said Western was the country club school, and Northwest was the cow pasture school, the
and
farming
now
school.
it's like revert.
Oh, completely.
Northwest is
That's the place, man. They got the Cardinal. They got everything out there now. It's the place to be. Because where does your daughter go to school? Private school?
She goes to Grimsley International Baccalaureate. She went through 8th grade to Summerfield Charter Academy.
Right. Well, they have some good girls basketball there from what I hear. They got one kid going to Northwest, and her father played at Southwest. She's going to Northwest. She's a great guard out of Summerfield Charter. But those charter schools are coming on fast. Very, very active in the area. And your daughter's name is Barbara, right?
Yep.
Volleyball player?
Yeah.
I saw her a couple of times.
She's not now. She's going to be on one of these travel teams.
Ah, travel volleyball. That's gotten crazy. It used to be travel basketball. Other sports, travel baseball. Now travel volleyball, in fact.
It's amazing, and what they charge. But I guess a lot of parents figure if I want my girl to be any good, she's got to do, because the other ones are doing it, and they get more coaching than they do on their school team, and so.
Well, back to the Western Guilford again with John Blust, who's our House of Representatives representative for District 62. Is that right? Now, what other? Howard was always District 6, without a doubt, right? Wasn't it District 6?
Congressional District 6.
Forever District 6 back in there. I remember a guy even before Howard. He may have been a Democrat, but to me he was like a Republican because he was a community man. Horace Carnegie. I remember Mr. Carnegie was the same kind of guy. But back to Western Guilford, when Doug Henderson comes in, Coach Robinson steps down, what kind of, you weren't playing then, but what kind of change could you see? You might have been off to the military, but what did you see in the program then? How did it change?
I think, and this isn't a criticism of Robinson, but Henderson was incredibly organized. I mean, down to the second. We're going to do this for so long, then boom, everybody's moving to this and all. So I saw a whole lot of organization. He was a very enthusiastic.
A lot of energy,
coach.
yeah.
Could really get people enthused. And I'd come back a lot and
visit.
Go and stand out there and watch practice and go to a lot of.
How was it different from the practices you guys had then?
It just was. He was more organized than Robinson was.
Because in Carolina, they called Henderson his nickname at Carolina because we used to yell at occasionally under our breath in practices. His nickname was Tick because he would come in and he would not leave. He would stick with the program and study and learned all that at Carolina before he came out and became a coach at East Bladen, then came to Western Guilford. But I mean, it seemed like you mentioned the details, every day before practice, Doug Henderson, when you right in the locker room and the door beside when you go out, be a sheet, every detail of practice, minute by minute, covered. And and I told the guys too, people don't think about this much, that when you came out of that door, that locker room, there's a black line right there, painted on the sidewalk. When you crossed that black line, you ran to the field. Practice is over, you left the field running, you didn't stop to get back to that black line. He had that's the way he did it. If you didn't do it that way, then it was time to, as Mr. Hollifield used to say, it's either my way or trailways. Get rolling, baby.
Yep. So that was a great experience. So I never played for Henderson, but I felt kind of
connected.
He was kind of my coach too.
Yeah.
And I'd talk to he and Hollifield a lot because Hollifield coached me and knew me well.
Oh, yeah.
And was always picking on me, Blust. I remember one time coming into school and Hollifield sees me and says, Blust, I'm going to bust your tail today.
Before school started.
And he found a reason.
Good night.
I kind of horsed around a lot and played
Had some
practical
fun.
jokes.
Yeah.
You had to enjoy each day.
I was saying today about a guy you kind of remind me of in some ways. Maybe a good comparison, good possibility. But the voice, dialect, and even the kind of mannerisms and intellectual. Bill Walton in some ways, how Bill carried out himself.
Wow.
You listen to Bill back when he commentated, right?
Yep.
Got some of that same intellect, that same kind of voice sounds. So this guy reminds me of Bill Walton in a few ways.
There's
back
another
in his day.
free by Larry Bird.
There you go. But basketball, you played basketball for Coach Jones and Coach Brooks both, right?
Yeah. Played JV for Coach Brooks. That's another thing that helped me immensely, especially in basketball, but just athletically. Coach Brooks started me on the habit of, after practice, get under that backboard and do 100 taps, alternating hands.
On the backboard.
Not coming down and stopping, going right back up. And I did that for years, even playing pickup. I'd wait till the end, and as soon as we're finished, I'd go to a basket and do 100 taps.
Wow, that's amazing.
And then shoot 100 free throws, because I wanted to shoot free throws while I was tired.
Yeah, while your arms have been exposed.
So it'd be like game conditions.
Yeah.
And I did that for 40 years afterwards.
And you did the free throws too?
Another thing I remember Coach Brooks saying was that I've taken comfort in over the years. He told me one day, you go down the hill at the same rate you go up it. And I would think, man, I've had 40 years of going up this hill. Because until COVID, I rarely didn't work out. Now, I've got to have some days that I don't, even running. Now, it used to be, for a while it was basketball. I didn't dare play 2 straight days. But basketball became, I better not play more than once a week. And then I ran one night about a year ago, and he was on my team. I ran full speed into a guy that played linebacker. Now, he didn't start. He was more practice squad, because I'd look every game and see if I'd see his name making a tackle or something. But his body did not budge, and mine went flying. And I realized I'm taking a big chance.
And that was in basketball.
Being out here.
Some of the worst collisions you can have is on the basketball court. Football is rough, but boy,
Yep.
basketball, man, you're not seeing that guy blindside, wham, I'm talking, next world.
Yep.
Who was that guy? You remember his name?
Golly, what is his name? It'll come to me later.
yeah.
Alec.
Alec.
His first name's Alec. And I used to know his last name, and pretty big study. He started out going to Marshall and then transferring to State, and he's a pretty good basketball player too. Actually, though, he liked to shoot the three. He should have gone in and posted up all the time. But he liked to stay outside and shoot that three.
That's weird, because that three wasn't around back when you were playing, was it? Nope. Oh, man, would have been a wilder game.
That's been a thing over the years. The younger players have an inherent feel. I didn't ever shoot many threes because I didn't want to look down and see if my feet were behind I didn't have a good feel for where the line was.
Right.
Because I had not played coming up. When I think some of the players we had, excuse me, if they had the three, how much more they would have averaged.
I'd say your brother was a good basketball player. David Blust, very good guard. Remember, he and David Meredith both had very good end of career games because they closed well their senior year. Both those guys did extremely well.
And there was another David on that team, David Bowman.
Oh yeah, he was a pure basketball
Very
guy.
good player.
Yeah, I had a guy too. I have him on my team any day of the week. This guy was a power forward. This guy Greg French.
Yep.
Extend your elbows.
fact,
that guy could play.
I still tell people David Bowman was one of the harder players, because I always took great pride in my defense. He was one of the harder players to go, because he's quick enough to go around you and take it to the basket, or go around you and pull up and shoot a quick jumper, or he could shoot it without, catch it and shoot
Right,
it.
you
didn't dare leave him. And I'll tell you another one who he was younger than me, Jerry Russell.
Oh yeah, heard about him. Yeah.
Because he was a big guy. He could take you in and post. And he played up at Greensboro Day some.
Yeah.
He could stand outside and bust the three on you, or take you, post you up. And
I think he made all-state in all three sports at
Yep.
Western Guilford. He was a punter in football. Then he had basketball, standing, baseball. He was like a pitcher, catcher, but he was they won championships. He was like all-state three sports. Which
Great.
He was one of the few guys I thought he may have exceeded my favorite all-time Western Guilford athlete. You were a great one, but this guy Mark Gunther was some kind of athlete. That guy back in the day.
But Jerry, coincidence, the time the tree fell on me downtown and I broke my ankle, he was a fireman at the time and was in the fire group that came up and pulled me out.
He made the call. Wow.
So that was something. And he had busted on me a few times at Greensboro Day trying to guard him. I'll tell you the most, though, I've ever been dominated. Somehow I got to play down in Woolen Gym at Carolina on the main court. I was usually more of a second court type game. It's like Woolen Gym with 8 courts, and you kind of find your level.
Oh yeah.
And I was going against Dudley Bradley.
Oh boy.
And he was just coming down, pulling up in your face jungle and shooting he hit 14 of their 15, and I didn't score. I thought near the end I thought I'm gonna make a layup on the Secretary of Defense, and he comes in and pins it to the backboard. And it's like, guys on the sideline were, oh man, who is that guy? Get him on. It's like, I'm going to mop up the court with you to show you can't play out here. And he was talking trash too.
He was one of those guys also had a great senior season. He just came on his last year or two at Carolina and just completely blew it off the charts.
Yep, but he did miss one at least. He didn't go 14 of 14. But my biggest claim to fame was playing one day with Michael Jordan on his team.
On his team.
I got there right when the gym was opening and they had 9 guys and needed a 10th to get started. So he was a freshman, September of '81, but everybody had heard about him coming.
Yeah.
Big recruit. And I got to be on his team, and we won all afternoon. Must have played 3 or 4 hours.
Never sat
10 in a row. You know how somebody's got the next
Oh
game?
yeah, you just keep playing.
And as long as you win, you stay out.
The weird thing is, I thought about you and him both earlier this week, getting you lined up for this show, because you came on like you battled. You were a junior playing junior or varsity football. Finally got there your senior year. He was like carrying the players' uniforms at Wilmington Laney, whatever it was, when he was in high school. Couldn't make the team. Finally made it, and then boom, he took off.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so you don't want to ever give up, because most people are athletic enough to play at the high school level if they'll really work. College is another thing. You've got to have a certain talent and athleticism. But high school, you can usually, now you might not even start, but you can usually make a team, especially football. I never got, technically I got cut from varsity to JV, but I was always
demoted,
on a team because they need enough people
bodies
to practice. But I may still have the record at Western. Well, maybe not at Western, because I got cut from Little League, Pony League twice. I know I got cut from JV basketball in the 10th grade because they didn't tell you.
Right.
They just posted
that list. I mean, that list. Ooh, that list was
and
tough.
On that bulletin board as you went in the boys' dressing room, and I stood there for about 10 minutes going down that list. My name just isn't on there, and thinking, man, everybody in the school's going to know. For some reason, I can't remember 9th grade basketball, but I know I didn't make it. And for some reason, I was on the team in the 8th grade. because we had Johnny Raw, we had a guy.
Yeah, because you were actually at
Hobbs.
Western Guilford as an
Yep.
8th grader.
Yep.
They moved the school back over, yeah.
And believe it or not, though, that was 7th or 8th grade. Your brother Chuck got named most athletic because he was a big weightlifter type then. And I remember Gene Blackwell said, I think that should be John Rawls. 'Cause, you know, he was good at every sport.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it, including golf, yeah.
And I don't know, did Chuck ever play football?
He played a little bit, then he got kind of caught up in working. He wanted to work and make some money, so he did more of the work thing. He did the wrestling, did a little bit of the football.
Yeah, wrestling. He was
big into wrestling, yeah.
And in phys ed that year, Hollifield was the wrestling coach, and half the classes we'd wrestle.
Yeah.
I hated it.
Boy, that was
but
rough.
I did not want to roll around a mat with a man, another male.
I hear you.
And
They had a guy back then named Johnny Coble. Remember his name? Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was part of that wrestling bunch, I think. Had the Logan brothers, had Jimmy Marshall, now deceased, big, strong, heavyweight guy. Hollifield had some tough guys. Whew. Had a guy named Wren. So you remember David Wren?
Yeah.
Very intelligent guy, was also a very good wrestler, too.
And I never wanted to, because I'd go down sometimes during the day, and when there was a wrestling match, I'd go into the men's dressing room, and somebody'd be in there in a wetsuit, jumping rope with the steam running.
In the shower.
Trying to get down their weight.
Oh.
And I'm thinking, you're going to be tired out.
He'd be dead by the time you get there. He'd put him, Mr. Hollifield, better be proper here. Anyway, he'd have the guys on the bus going to the match on the bus with a sweatsuit on, wetsuit, jogging in place and spitting in the cup, lose weight on the way to the match on the bus, on that old crazy Western Guilford activity bus. Wow, some crazy stuff.
Yeah, they didn't go easy on it, but I mean, some of these kids can't take even being yelled at or a voice raised.
Boy.
Man, I had Robinson take me by the chin,
Oh, yeah.
the face mask sometimes. You better. I got yelled at all the time.
He used to hit you in the helmet sometimes too. Yep. Rattle your cage or skull. You know, hit you in the helmet and wake up. Let's go.
But that helped. I mean, because you know, right after I got out of high school, suddenly I'm in the Army, and the drill sergeants were mean as.
Oh, it prepared
helped,
you well.
Yep, it helped to have been yelled at and. Now, they didn't drop for push-ups, but they'd make you run that hill up near the practice field. If you messed up, you'd have to run that hill a lot.
Boy. So as far as the election goes, now you're in the House of Representatives, filling the term of the previous person there. Now, do you run again on the ballot in November?
Yeah, and see, that's why they picked me. I'm already on the ballot for that seat because Representative Faircloth wasn't running again. So I was logical. Hey, he's hopefully going down there anyway. But I take nothing. I learned from sports. You don't take anything for granted. That's why there's upsets.
That's right.
People think we don't have a tough game coming up. I'm not going to really prepare hard and get mentally ready. You know, another thing, I mentioned Vince Lombardi. I used to have the Vince Lombardi quotes up on my bedroom wall and some Packer pictures.
Oh, man.
I used to really get into the Lombardi philosophy.
Will you be able to make the game tomorrow night? You're going to check out Western tomorrow night again?
Maybe I
Northwest?
can. What do I have? I got to take my daughter Barbara somewhere if she's going on a retreat. I might go by there.
Check it out, yeah.
Because
3-0 versus 3-0.
I'm just glad to see Western. I just hated seeing them as a doormat.
They were a doormat for several years, yeah.
So I might try to get out there. I need to run because I
Let's
got
let
to
you roll.
Meet my wife for the Reagan movie.
You check that out down there. You going to the Red Cinema? Check it out down there. That's the good Mr. Cotis' spot down there.
Marty
Check it out.
Cotis.
Yes, sir.
That's a big name in Greensboro.
John Blust, an outstanding job. Keep up the good work. Hope to see you again. Maybe all those members of Western Guilford are great, and good luck in the election. And hopefully you're still playing some basketball, still doing your running.
Well, I've stopped the basketball, and I'm getting slow now. I don't jump much, and one of the big reasons, just about anybody good could score on me now. I couldn't play I could still shoot pretty well, but I couldn't play the good defense. And I just knew it's time. Now, like when I get up, I'll be stiff.
Yeah, it happens.
You just get old.
Yeah, time catches up. That's right. It's all about that timeline.
Yep.
John, you keep
All right,
going.
thanks.
Keep
Thanks
going to
a
your
lot.
80 on that political trail. Stay with it to your 80.
How's your sister Joyce? You know, she was
She's
my
hanging in there,
sister's
yeah,
friend.
Kathy Blust, best
And
friend,
I still think of y'all when I go up Old Oak Ridge. I think, I wonder where the Durham house
Look at the
was.
runway. Look at the runway. That's where we live. End of the runway.
All right. Well, I got to get going.
Thank you,
Good
John.
to see
Outstanding
you.
job. Hope to see you maybe tomorrow night at the ball game. And good luck on the election.
Now you can't even buy a ticket there, though, can you?
I think you may have to buy it online. I'm not sure. You have to check on that to be sure about that. Everything's changed as far as it goes. They have. Thank you, John.
Good to see
Appreciate
you.
it.
Chuck, I said hi.
I will do so.